In the previous episode, Kristen explores her grief and guilt over Valerie's death in Dr. Boggs' office. She describes Valerie's husband's unusual conduct. But I didn't warn her. I didn't warn anyone. She confesses. What aggravates her feelings even more. She's pleased that her egg won't become a human after all, despite the horrible circumstances. While we're talking about the silent portions aloud, Kristen admits she's concerned Andy won't return, but she also believes in some ways that could be simpler. Boggs reminds her that ideas are not actions, and their talk ends when David texts her that she needs to go. On her way out, she notices the doctor singing along to the demonic record player and asks him what he's up to. It's from writing Twitter. He exclaims joyfully as he hands her his half-completed work to peruse. She scoffs at everything he says and does, yet she takes the papers and walks away. Kristen returns home to see that Boggs' pages are full of nonsense. Some are printed in reverse. She tosses it aside, but Leela later discovers it and reads it by holding the pages up to a mirror. Kristen and her sisters, unbeknownst to her, end up enjoying the narrative. When Dr. Boggs summons Kristen and Laura understands that he's the one who created the novel, she demands more, and this connection with a fan makes him ecstatic. Kristen joins David and Ben at an East River marina where a very wealthy man is moored on his yacht. He believes a demon is pursuing him and that the infernal monster began its chase when the man's investments became successful. He shows them security camera footage he's captured. A person in a dark hoodie moves very strangely, seemingly causing light bulbs to collapse as he passes. The figure has even gotten entrance to the boat, but it has yet to break past the final barrier and reach the wealthy individual. Ben connects his phone to the ship's security cameras and says he'll keep an eye on things. After David returns to the boat to reveal the sigil to the rich guy after meeting with Grace, she gets a vision linking his current case to one of the demonic sigils. The man knows it from a logo on the pen of a woman who used to visit the bank where he worked as a teller. So the group pays a visit to the woman, who claims her uncle gave her the pen. Both she and her uncle, like the boat owner, became extremely wealthy after investing in a stock named DF, which happens to bear the symbol as its insignia. And, like the boat owner, she and her uncle were plagued by a terrifying specter. Shadow figure soon after they hit it big. She got rid of it by giving away literally everything she had bought with her DF gains. When David, Ben, and Kristen go to see the woman's uncle, they discover he did the same thing, and his list included a rebuilt nose, a LASIK improved eye, and his wife's breast implants. The shadow figure enters the yacht before the yachtman can do much with the information provided by the assessors. Ben witnesses everything on security tape and rushes to the marina, where the boat guy is floating, dead, in the river. Kristen and her colleagues investigate DF Global Solutions, which they discover is a real estate, social media, and cryptocurrency trading firm. Karama purchases a large number of DF shares after assisting Ben in determining what's going on. She soon notices the shadow form in her peripheral vision. Ben buys some shares to demonstrate that it's all rubbish. He soon finds himself fleeing the shadows as he walks home one night. According to David, the amount is associated with the stock tip, not the stock success. Therefore, Kristen has Ben give her the tip. Then she marches directly to the house of the guy she beat up at the grocery store and asks for a ceasefire. And to demonstrate her sincerity, she'll even share a hot stock tip with him. In other news, I love her. Now, let's get back to Grace. The church is dissatisfied since Grace isn't having many visions. But when one occurs during David's visit, the gathering priests and entity members begin to listen to him. David advises that they place Grace in an atmosphere with children, such as the daycare where she used to work. But that's no longer an option. So he wiggles an invitation for her to accompany Kristen and her children to a Chuck E. Cheese-style restaurant with a ball pit and such. And, contrary to popular belief, it is not the ice cream store from yesterday. Kristen's girls adore Grace, and the affection is reciprocated. Laura is so at ease with the prophetess that she inquires as to when Andy will return home. Next Thursday, Grace says before jumping out of the ball pit and scribbling all over placemats. Victor Laconte is thrilled since she ends up filling in the missing portions of the codex. A century of effort in one day. In less than one day, he marvels. Kristen's ladies throw her a surprise party at home the next day, and nearly everyone attends. Cheryl introduces herself to Grace, and the conversation is nice enough until Grace detects something in the older lady that causes her face to slump. "I'm not going to blame you," she adds solemnly. For tomorrow evening, Cheryl pretends she doesn't understand what Grace is saying, but she definitely does. Kristen asks the prophetess in the kitchen, humbly, whether she may ask her about Lexus the same way she asked about Laura's heart. She expresses her concern that Lexus is not intrinsically good. "Lexus is a lovely child, but she needs you to protect her. There are people who want her to do horrible things," Grace explains. Then she gets a flash and begins to draw. Her drawing depicts Andy being held hostage in the room. Cheryl takes a photo of the conversation with her phone from a few feet away. When Cheryl shows Leland, he gets the dagger stashed at the back of his closet and heads towards the rectory. He murders the priest who is protecting Grace, then slowly climbs to her chamber, making sure she is afraid before he enters. But just as he's about to thrust the knife into her, the Monsignor storms into the room and wrestles with Leland, thwarting the murder. The two men end up rolling about and falling down the steps outside Grace's room. Leland gets up and walks away, nursing a nasty wound on his side. As Grace rushes to Monsignor Corky's side, there's blood everywhere, including an ever-widening puddle under his skull. "My hand is freezing. Would you kindly hold that for me?" he says, dazed. She says a prayer for him. He says softly, "Father Ignatius," referring to Wallace Shawn's role from the season opener. "Tell him I adore." But he dies before completing the sentence. "If you'd told me earlier this season that I'd be emotional about the Monsignor's death by episode 9, I'd have laughed at you. However, here we are. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to comment, subscribe and give us a like.